Good evening. Welcome to our workshop, March 26, 2025. Announcements. We have the yard waste schedule up.
Yes, on the highway page. Please do not contact the highway department about yard waste. Please email the village clerk, vcsclerk@coldspringny.gov, if you have any questions about yard waste.
When's it starting?
The first two dates are April 10th and April 24th. They ask that you put your yard waste in paper bags next to your regular trash receptacle,
Or it can be bundled with twine.
or it can be bundled with twine.
Yep. There's a dimension they have to be cut to, right? Like two feet or something, 2 feet or something.
Yeah, not too big.
I'm wondering if we can move that to the clerk page so that it's not, people aren't going through highway to get there. Okay. Opportunity to add or modify the agenda. Any requests? Okay, moving on to board business. The first item is probably the most complex conversation we'll have tonight. So the Clearwater initially contacted us with a regular docking application. But it was a long range of dates. So I tabled it last week so we could get some more information. We have a bit more information, but I think not still enough for what we need to make a determination on. So they have the dock in Beacon, the tidal dock in Beacon that the ferry connects to, and Clearwater, I'm sorry, the sloop is normally docked at, has had storm damage, and it's Metro North's dock. They're waiting for Metro North to repair it. That's why they've asked for a longer number of dates, because they've lost their home base. I had one conversation with the education director to say, look, if you're going to be asking for the whole summer, let's have the conversation all at once. She said that they're not looking to be in Cold Spring all summer. They're looking for this as a bridge until they have docking points closer to the city identified. So we're using kids who are docked closer to the city after mid-May. So most of these sales that they're asking for are the usual sales that they do from our dock, which is kids come down by bus or walk down from Haldane, get on the boat, do an educational tour for a couple of hours and come back. 3 of the dates are not those, however. One is a private charter, May 2nd, and then 2 are public sales on May 3rd, which I'm not clear entirely on how they are marketing to the public. And I think that's going to make a difference in the questions. Our code allows us to waive docking fees, and the code section says this: a fee may be charged for vessels docking for commercial purposes at a rate determined by resolution of the Village Board of Trustees. The board shall have the authority to waive docking fees upon a finding that good cause exists for doing so. So the board has customarily waived docking fees for the Clearwater because it's for educational purposes. When it is for an educational purpose, we have charged when they've docked for weddings or other private charters. In the advertising, they've already advertised these dates before they had permission to dock. So we're already out there. That doesn't mean we have to approve it, but that's an element to talk about. And the prices for those school sales are included in the programming. Magnet schools, $1,100 for a morning session, $900 for afternoon. Public and private schools, $1,600 for a morning session, $900 for afternoon. Post-secondary schools, $2,500 for a morning session, $2,500 for an afternoon. So Clearwater is not, they're still a nonprofit. They're not making zillions of dollars on their educational tours, but they are charging a fee, and they are asking to use our dock for an extended period. And when I talked to Emily, I think her name is Emily, when I talked to Emily about this yesterday, she was not averse to paying some fee. She wasn't able to get back to me today with that amount, but I wanted to throw out to you, given the long period of time, and the fact that it is a charge-based fee, do we want to ask Clearwater to pay some portion of a docking fee.
My understanding is, Clearwater's had some financial troubles in the last, 5 years.
They
And
have.
this is these sales are their main source of fundraising. And so if Cold Spring would be looking for money from this, that would cut into their fundraising.
I raised that with Emily. I don't know if you've had independent sessions, but I did have that conversation with Emily yesterday. She said that they have been quite successful in their fundraising and are trying to come level with many places where they have had fees waived in the past, and provide some payment. As I understood from our conversation, the majority of their funding is actually from philanthropy, not from these sales. So I'm not saying charge them full out, but I'm asking, is it appropriate, given that our dock is an asset that we need to maintain and pay to maintain? And it is a long stretch of time. How does the board feel about some charge for this extended period of time for the dock?
Were we expecting other uses that would generate fees during this time?
Not in this period, no. So it's money that is unbudgeted. It'd be additional.
I've been on the public sales, they're really lovely, and, I think, the purpose of this is to bring people to the Hudson so that they care about it and steward it. So I think the public sales have an educational component as well. So other than the private charter, I feel comfortable with, I think conceptually, the public sales fall within our education, waiving approach. My only concern is it's why I had asked about what the OIC had said, like, if we're like, it sounds like we're not expecting other boats there, so we're not losing funds.
Right.
But if we were paying for police coverage at our expense, I would have concern. But other than that, I think this is good.
So you would propose charging for the private charter?
I think so. I mean, unless we better understand it, it sounds like their private charter sounds like it's kind of market rate, and that
Right.
it would make sense. The one thing that I would note is that it's on a Friday at 1:30, and so they'll have to pay, they'll have to find parking. The Metro lot isn't free then, so they'd have to find,
Right.
parking.
The regular educational tours don't generate need for parking because the kids come by bus and the buses get direct, and it doesn't need police attention other than showing them where the parking lot is if they can't find it. That's my concern with the public charter and the private charter, because it's on, well, first the private because it's on a Friday. So I think that's them messaging very clearly to the people who are attending that there's paid parking in the village on Fridays, and where the municipal lot is available. What is it? It's like 40 people, right?
20 to 30 on the private sale.
And then the public sale at WM, it's the same deal on a Saturday. I know that when they do public sales in the village, I've done them too. And there are a lot of people from the village who walk down and go on, and it is really fun.
Yeah, and the second one is at 5 p.m. So it's only, so it's not as busy then. It should be just the afternoon one that would be.
And I believe, in some of the information that you sent, that Clearwater said that they usually dock at Beacon, but that dock is damaged.
That's what I said at the beginning of the meeting, yeah.
Yeah, and that's not their fault, right? So it's like, I think, they certainly, I think, prefer for consistency to be there, but they just have to be here unexpected.
Right, and they're not asking, at this point, they're not asking to be here all summer. They're looking for a bridge until they have other docking locations.
Yeah, so I'd be in favor of not charging them, just as we've done before, and as I imagine they expect it when they advertise.
Well, as I said, she mentioned on the phone yesterday that they don't expect that they don't, they have been waived for many years and they don't expect to consistently be waived. So that's why I'm throwing it out. But that doesn't mean we have to charge, just putting it out that it's not coming from us, it came from their conversation. Other thoughts?
The crew sleeping on this boat all the days.
The crew is sleeping on the boat.
So it's docked non through that time.
It's docked whenever they're not at sail, it's at the dock.
Yeah.
For however many nights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10 nights. And they're also coming back in, I can't remember if it's June or July. They've done it the last couple of summers where they bring a camping group and they go up multiple stops on the Hudson, dock in Cold Spring overnight and camp at dockside with a special permit.
Have they asked for that date yet?
Yes, but I can't remember when it is. Do you remember when it was?
I don't.
It's either June or July.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's July. Other thoughts?
I feel like the Clearwater is like the unicorn that comes to our town. Like wonderful thing, this beautiful presence, and going to see it down on the dock is a real treat. And I think, yeah, they're definitely not a for-profit organization. They're doing something really innovative and old-fashioned that more people should be this crazy. So I support waiving the fees for them continually, especially since this is just like sort of a temporary, this many dates is unusual for them.
Yeah.
And this is not a precedent that we want to maybe set, because it's a lot of stress on our dock, like we said. But I feel like it's a good thing to support them coming here and not costing them much. And I was just looking at, like, if we were charging the commercial rate,
1,600.
yeah, it's a lot of money. And even if they're, I mean, like, they'd have to charge passengers over like $100 to make any money on that, on the private sale. And I feel like they're probably not even charging enough, but
Well, I don't know what they're charging for the private sale.
yeah, it's
charter
none of our
sale?
business really. But I just, because they're a nonprofit, I don't know. I feel like more inclined to just waive all the fees for them
The educational fees.
yeah.
Okay, please.
I would say waive the educational fees. I would not waive the private charter for sure.
So
Do we understand what a private charter is?
when someone rents the boat for a private sale. When a family or an entity rents the boat.
But it could be a fundraising thing as well.
Could be.
Don't know what it's.
I haven't been able to talk to her about what it is.
Okay.
To me, it doesn't matter if it's being used for a for-profit event and our asset is being used for something that's not an educational purpose. I think we should be charging the docking fee.
We don't know that it's not an educational purpose, and we don't know that it's for profit.
They have called it out specifically. I asked them to identify which sales are educational sales and which sales are for other purposes. And they have specifically called out what are educational sales versus what are public sales where anybody's welcome to come on the boat, and what is something they've been chartered. They've been hired to do it.
Right, my understanding of that is very different, because the public scales are also educational. They have a lecturer, they have somebody talking about it. It's not just a party boat, right? And I don't know if the private sales are the same, the difference being
Well,
just
let's
not.
find out. I can't answer
I'm
it.
sorry, I'm talking, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Aaron.
This is constant, I'll just remind you every day.
Yeah, go ahead. That's the new
That I
law,
really don't want to make the assumption that this is like a party boat or some sort of like exclusive event, you know?
I'm not assuming it's exclusive. I'm assuming that someone has hired the boat. As I said, Emily wasn't able to join us tonight and I can't answer that question for you. So what I wanted tonight was a concept, get to sense where people were for our next conversation with them. That's a great question for you to ask her. what exactly are you doing on your boat when on May 2nd? So it sounds like we've got,
I have one last item.
yeah,
As we discuss waiving the fees for public sales and private charters, at least the public sales, since they're on a Saturday, may require police intervention or some sort of security
yeah,
detail.
I think we have to follow up with that. Matt wanted to better understand what the numbers are, et cetera.
Exactly.
He did encourage. What did he say? I thought I
But
printed
understand
out
that
and brought it
is
with me.
an additional cost to the village. So in waiving the fee for that activity, the village is then burdening, showing
Right.
the additional burden.
It'd be great to try to,
Right, he did say,
know,
sailboat.
I feel like it would be
It's
great
not
to
sea
figure,
street.
wait,
for
one
400
person at a
people.
time. Please, go ahead.
no, just, I mean, I think I'm the same as Liza. It'd be great to like do some pre-coordination
Yeah.
to figure out how do we not need, police,
I agree.
an extra
20
detail. But
people,
maybe it's
it
like
just doesn't
putting
make
some
sense.
cones out and saying like, get in the line over here, something like that. Like,
Actually, we don't know how many.
40 for 45 passengers,
Yeah.
that is not like.
No,
a
we don't
police
have
crowd.
numbers. We
Yeah,
don't have numbers
oh.
for the public sale yet.
well, I don't think, I think that's about all that fits. I think that's like the max. that
That's
fits on
right,
the boat.
yeah. I'm not advocating for the police delay. I think what Laura is saying is accurate. Let's find out, get some information and have that in the second conversation. He's saying if it will generate an abundance of people, they can only generate so many people because there's a capacity limit on the boat. One of the questions I have is, are you selling those tickets ahead of time or is it anybody can walk on?
It's
And if
ahead.
in-
I think it's ahead.
I think it is ahead
I
too.
mean, I don't know, that's what I did last year.
Okay. So it sounds like we're roughly on the same page and we'll get more information from them next week. Thank you for that. The next is a sale of a village parcel. You've got a survey in your pack. This is in between the Jagged Roof Studio and Riverview. It's same as we did the sale on 37. There's a landlocked parcel back there, a village property. I don't know what the story is that it ended up that way, but it is. And the rest who've, yeah, figured it out, she was a little girl, she didn't really replace anyone else. They would like to buy that back parcel just like the neighbor did next door. It would need to be surveyed to mark out exactly what it is they're wanting to buy. We did ask Will Angelillo, the engineer, to do an assessment of the property next door, and he basically produced a memo that said there's steep slopes on this parcel. When and if this property is redeveloped for the planning board, that will need to be considered. So he felt it would be, the same kind of memo as a template for this property. Where the village isn't using it for anything, I don't imagine that the village would. It hasn't so far. So the question is, do trustees want to proceed with selling this parcel and asking the potential buyer to have a survey done?
Do you know about how big the parcel is?
It's roughly, see where on the, where it says first parcel and second parcel,
Yes.
it's a little beyond that line, like beyond the concrete walk. It's narrow and it drops off really dramatically at the back. I don't know if you've ever seen that, the back side of the highway or the east side of the highway garage, but it's a very steep slope. So right now, what's back there is kind of, they've been mowing it, et cetera, for all these years. Because the village, you can't access it from our side without climbing up that steep slope.
Is it the entirety of here on the survey, or is it just one part
This
of
is
it?
only their property survey. I have not asked them to survey it because they need to spend money to survey it. So the first is, are you interested in proceeding? In which case, it will be surveyed and be clearly defined what it is they want to buy. I haven't wanted to ask them to spend money on that unless the village was going to be open to the idea of selling it. It puts it back on the tax roll. It's whatever square footage that goes back on the tax roll, and we sell it at X amount per square foot. I think it's somewhere around $4 a square foot, plus legal fees.
I feel like once we've sold the
Yeah.
back bit to the Eli property and to Nina's studio, it's like this little.
Yeah.
It's an orphan.
Yeah.
Also, the
And
precedent has been set, like, why would we deny her?
it's,
Versus the
it's
other.
income. So I don't have a problem with it personally.
Okay.
Same.
And Liza, right, we did it together.
We
We went to
saw
go
it.
see.
It's wild and it's
tromped around,
hilly and there's
yeah.
nothing that can be built there.
Yeah.
It's like the boundary land
Yeah.
between village functioning property and residential. So they wanna own that boundary
Yeah, they wanna
land,
have
which
a-
makes sense, a buffer.
A buffer, but also more of a backyard that they have control over.
Yeah.
That the public doesn't see, because it's at the top of that hill. Okay, so, would someone like to make a motion to proceed with,
I'll make a motion to proceed with negotiations for the sale of village property adjacent to 41 Fair Street. I assume the mayor will manage the negotiations for the contract.
yeah, the first step is getting the survey. The next is contacting, just so that everybody's aware. The next is contacting the town assessor to check that our sale rate per square foot is still accurate. And then having the attorney draw up, title transfer and, whatever legal documents are required to do it. And the board, that then comes back to the board and the board votes.
All right, motion to begin this process.
Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next item is a little tricky too. A resident who had always paid her water bills in person, used the online payment option, didn't realize it would default her to paperless payments, didn't get bills, so didn't pay them for a long time. And the notices apparently went to an old email address. So she's asking to have the penalties waived. She's paid the amount outstanding in full, $975.37, but is asking for the village to waive the penalties, which in the system would be giving a credit toward future water bills. I think it was an honest mistake, but was also a year without getting water bills. So I'm not sure how it went so long without. You've been paying water bills for years and years, how in a year you wouldn't get a water bill and realize. So just a note of caution about precedent if the board decides that they'd like to waive the late fees. Discussion?
I'm more inclined to waive them than not. I just feel like that's the neighborly thing to do, and this isn't that much money, and we didn't go bankrupt that year, they didn't pay. Thankfully, thankfully.
By the skin of our teeth.
Yeah, sorry.
Other thoughts?
Actually, it wasn't, I mean, it doesn't really have to do with Fran, but, I wasn't aware that there were electronic options for bill delivery. I don't know if everybody knows that but me.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, great. All know it. That's good. Maybe I'll look up, how that would work.
It's on the website. That's in your area of work. Yeah.
Well, I think this is another place where we see a benefit that we control our own water and that it's a municipal service and it's not a private company that would not consider the neighborly thing to do. So, I'm in favor of waiving it.
If it were more, I might feel a bit differently, but I agree. If it was done mistakenly, in earnest. Mistake that.
I don't feel strongly one way or the other. I just need to I want to make sure that we paper the reason carefully. So would someone like to make a motion?
I will make a motion to waive the late fee for the water bill penalty. So we don't want to use the name.
I mean, it's in the public record, but for this property,
For this property at 4 Northern Gatling,
and it would be as a credit.
as a one-time credit to the account.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. the next item is restrooms. I honestly can't remember when we opened them last year.
15th of April, I think.
So it was early April, okay. The village has been not crowded on the weekends, but visitation is already picking up. It was really, I wasn't in the village I wasn't on Main Street on Saturday, but Sunday it was really full. And there's been a request to open the bathrooms. It's not a big budgetary impact, it's like $50 a weekend for cleaning, and the cost of cases of toilet paper, so it's not, it's not a burden to open them early. And I'd like for there to be a place for people to pee.
I support this. I appreciate it.
So would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to, let's see, what weekend would we be talking?
Well, Bugsy, so before you make your motion, I did ask him if he felt it was warm enough to open them.
Yeah.
Those pipes, there is heat in that building, so it's less of a concern than it is in Mayor's Park. So he feels comfortable opening them now, and he said he could try to get them open for the weekend,
This weekend.
this weekend, which today's Wednesday, so
Great.
by Friday.
Okay.
And is that, do we want to open them through the week or Friday, to Sunday? There are people walking around all week. What are you gonna say?
It's a little bit of an aside, so I'll.
Okay,
Honestly, I think we should just go to the full schedule.
I do
like,
too.
don't see the point in.
So all week long, we would have to get, the custodians back.
well,
on
our
the weekends?
crew cleans it during the week,
Yeah.
and
Saturday, Sunday.
John back on the weekends. And did you happen to ask him when he was here yesterday? I didn't think to ask him.
I didn't ask him.
Go ahead, you've got his
I can
contact.
reach out to him, but if maybe we start it in April, a week. Starting,
Next week is April.
yeah, this weekend is the end of March, so that would give us time to reach out to the custodian and make sure he can be there.
So do it open for next,
I mean,
for next
if
week.
It's
If
3
you can
days
do it-
away, you know what I
if you
mean?
can
Like,
do
hey,
it-
can you start cleaning in
If you
3
can
days?
do it, I'm in favor of doing it. If he can't do it, then we wait.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to open the restrooms, 7 days a week, starting this weekend, provided our cleaning custodian can start cleaning on Saturday, the 29th. And if he can't, then I would, adjust it to start in April for the 5th, well, for the April 1st.
April 1st, and our crew can clean it through the week.
What are the hours?
It's usually 7 to 7. I think that's right. It may be actually that the B line opens it, so closer to 8.
Yeah.
I see them in there when I go to the train at 6:45.
People trying to get in?
No, the highway team opening the.
Oh, yeah, they may be going in and
Cleaning.
cleaning early. It's kind of like when somebody
When
gets
they're
there to
ready to
open
do it,
them, they open it.
Yeah.
But they're always open by the time the B line comes on at 8. The B line is complete.
In a motion.
Okay. From
Second.
in favor?
Can I ask them, so if it's heated, why is it not heated enough to open it over the winter?
It's a good question. We had it open until December. I don't think it's as much about cold as it is about what we've always done. And we didn't used to have as much visitation in the winter. You know, we might have hit the point where they need to be open more in the winter. I would want to ask Bugsy the question. December wasn't as cold as February, but could we have maintained them in February?
I think the plumbing is a real problem in winter, even with the heat as it is. From my understanding and having.
That's
had
what I
these
thought too.
Conversations with
Yeah.
Lindsay for a long time, like those pipes would not have survived this past winter.
Yeah,
It was so cold.
yeah.
So it wouldn't have made it through January and February.
So we need to find out more information, but they did okay through Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay. But could they survive
It was
19 degrees?
mild up
Yeah.
until Christmas,
Yeah.
and then it got really brutally cold.
Because I'm still in the like creative search for what to do with our clean energy funding, and I was like, maybe some heat pumps in the bathrooms would help them stay open, but if there's already heat, anyway,
They're not
But
insulated.
switching to
properly.
low,
yeah.
so is putting low water toilets something that we could do with that grant? Oh,
Not in that space.
No.
You don't want a low water toilet where there's any public space.
I don't know, just thinking.
Yeah, I see where you're going. Okay.
Can we put
all right,
solar panels on it?
fine. We
Every
could-
year.
No, I think it's a little, no, pay attention.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second. Did we vote?
I think we voted.
Oh,
Yeah.
We vote.
It's open,
Okay.
yeah, and I'll reach out to the Main Street Committee.
This
and to the
weekend, if
custodian.
available,
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
next weekend.
All right, Laura, you want to talk us through what we've been working on with Senator Gillibrand's office and the planning?
Sure. So, so every year we get, a notice with a very quick turnaround that there is this congressional direct spending, which is like the kind of appropriations process through, the House and the Senate. And it lays out kind of specific, programs, like government programs where there are eligible activities where you can apply. So, in that call with NIMTEC and Barbara Barossa, this opportunity through the highway instructor programs came up, that it was something that you normally have to be listed in the state tip or something, but if you apply in this way, you don't have to be, and you can apply directly. And it seems like it's something where it's worth a shot, where we could potentially get a whole bunch of funding for something that we want to do. So we quickly put together this concept, which is to do a pedestrian safety assessment of the length of 90 and the length of 301 in Cold Spring. And to look at sidewalks and intersections, and to look at needs, and then design out what infrastructure would be needed, and then to fund the improvements. So, so that's what we put into this proposal, is that whole thing, and justifying it. Thank you for all of your great text. We hear a lot from residents about safety getting to and from Haldane. We have concern about increased traffic from Fjord and just from traffic from, kind of tourism in general, going through the streets, and then maintaining, our community as a walkable place. And then also the senior access to the senior center.
And the numbers were developed by the county engineer to help us we had no
Yeah.
idea what numbers
Yeah.
to put on it.
That was a lesson in and of itself, that we could
Do that.
ask the county engineer and they would do some work for us. That was, it was like nice to be able to use a county service, and Barbara Gross is really helpful. So that's where this proposal came from. We need to get a letter from state DOT, kind of, since it's not in that state list, saying that it's eligible in the tip. And then we also requested a letter from Haldane as a letter of support.
What Laura means by the list is, remember when we went through the process of getting the Chestnut Ridge Butterfield crosswalk picked up by the DOT, the first step was getting a tip number assigned. And then getting it on their schedule, which is for sometime in 2027. But we have no idea if we'll get this. These used to be called earmarks and member items. Now they're called congressional direct spending. It's arbitrary. It's what the senators, if the senators think it's a good project, they might throw money our way. But I just figure we may as well take a shot.
Yeah, and we would submit it also to Senator Schumer. They both extended the deadline as April 4th, next Friday. And then we're waiting to see if Congressman Lawler's office puts out one of these requests. They haven't yet. But if they do, then we would submit it there. It was recommended to do all three.
What about letters from other organizations?
They only allow 2 letters in the form. And so, one has to be the DOT one, and then we figured Haldane would make a lot of sense. Not that I think we could get loads of letters for this if we were allowed to.
So right now, the Senate congressional direct spending is safe for this year. Uncertain going forward. On the House side, the House direct spending was pulled from the budget approval. They are attempting to get it through a reconciliation budget, and I wish I could explain it better than that. It's very complicated. So we don't know yet if Lawler's office will be extending money the way it has in the past. And we do know that some projects that were funded by senators and congressmen in Putnam in the last go round lost funding this year. Money that was promised in the last year and would have come this year has been lost. So who knows if it's gonna work or not, but why not take a shot?
I also feel like it just gives us a chance to work out some of these ideas and learn this process, and then we're ready for the next opportunities.
Thank you for doing
Yeah, nice work. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I guess we, resolution of support to submit. What we're looking for.
We have a resolution.
I mean, just a motion. Sorry.
Make a motion to, move forward with this grant request from, trustee Bozy to the office of Senator Christian Gillibrand and Charles Schumer.
All in favor?
Aye. Good work, Laura. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you to Barbara.
Yeah,
Barbara's
she's
just
great.
been great to work with. We don't need to talk about it tonight, but I did send you guys some, paving estimates. So, Clove is gonna be here spring break to do the street sweep. Hoped them to do in the fall, Benedict Boulevard, Cedar Street Spur. We've asked them to scope out some additional area. I know you haven't had a chance to look at it. I didn't get it till 4:30. So it's in your inboxes with an explanation and we can talk about it next week. Anything else from anybody? I'll make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Good night, everyone.